In this video, we're going to talk about how we can write the body paragraphs. We're going to start with some general guidelines. An appropriate paragraph for an academic essay usually contains 5 to 10 sentences in length. While writing these paragraphs, you need to take into consideration the use of the good paragraph structure, which you have learned in Composition 1. A good paragraph is usually indented, which means that you have to leave a short space before you start the first sentence. The first sentence of a paragraph is the topic sentence, which presents the main idea of that particular paragraph. Then we have supporting sentences, which present arguments that support the topic sentence of the paragraph. Each supporting sentence is followed by an example or an explanation, which explains or provides examples for that particular supporting sentence. And in general, we have 2 to 3 supporting sentences with their examples and explanations. A paragraph is usually concluded with a concluding sentence which restates the topic sentence in different words. A good paragraph contains average length sentences which are neither very long nor very short. You should take into consideration the appropriate use of punctuation and of capital letters. It's also important that you use the suitable linking words in order to link your sentences. One more thing is that you should provide smooth transitions between paragraphs. Within your paragraphs, you have to take into consideration the organization of your argument. You always need to start from the least important argument and finish with the most important argument, not the opposite. A paragraph contains a topic sentence which is followed by the first supporting sentence. This first supporting sentence contains the least important argument of this paragraph. Then it is followed by an example or an explanation. Then it is followed by a second supporting sentence, which in turn is followed by an example or an explanation. The third supporting sentence presents the strongest argument or the most important argument of the paragraph. Then we have a concluding sentence. Sometimes we may use a transition sentence, especially in the second and third paragraph of the essay. This transition sentence comes before the topic sentence. The role of the sentence in black here is to facilitate the transition or to establish a relationship between the previous paragraph and the present paragraph. We can also use this at the end of the paragraph in order to facilitate the transition from this paragraph to the next paragraph. A transition sentence is not obligatory, it is optional, and it facilitates the transition or the movement from the previous paragraph to the next paragraph. We can also use a transition sentence in the beginning of the third paragraph. Look, for instance, at this particular paragraph, which develops the thesis statement that we included in the video where we talked about how to write an introduction. We can say that here the topic sentence is: using Arabic in high school English language teaching classrooms has several negative effects on teachers. Then when we move to the next paragraph, we're going to find a transition sentence. Teachers are not the only ones affected by the use of Arabic in English language teaching classrooms. This is not the topic sentence because in the second paragraph we are not going to talk about the negative effects on teachers, but we are going to talk about the negative effects on students. Therefore, the function of the first sentence in this paragraph is to establish a connection between the second paragraph and the first paragraph, and thus it provides a smooth transition. Therefore, the topic sentence of the second paragraph is actually in the second sentence, not in the first sentence. So we find that, in fact, students are the real victims of such practices. And this tells us that in this paragraph we are going to talk about the effects of using Arabic on students. We can also do the same with the third paragraph. Right, how about the conclusion? A good conclusion of an argumentative essay usually contains 3 main parts. The first part restates the thesis statement, which means that you have to rewrite the thesis statement in different words. The second part provides a summary of the main idea of the whole essay. The last part should be a comment on the main idea. Here are some linking words that can help you with writing your paragraphs. For instance, for example, to illustrate, and as an example, are linking words that are used to introduce sentences, such as, like, including, namely, are linking words that are used to introduce words or phrases. The second list of linking words are those that we use to provide explanations. As you can see, these linking words are always used at the beginning of a sentence and are used to introduce a sentence that explains an idea. While writing an essay, here are some things that you need to avoid. The first thing that we notice is that some students use because in a topic sentence. Your topic sentence should not include the word because. When you use because in your topic sentence, you are already including an argument or an explanation or a reason. So you don't need to include because. Instead of because, use a full stop and start a new sentence. The second thing to avoid are those signs or abbreviations. Also, in your essay, you need to avoid using parentheses because what you put in parentheses is something that you consider as not important. So, if it's not important, then it should not be in your essay. Usually, an academic essay is a form of impersonal writing, so it should not include personal pronouns. So you need to avoid using the pronouns given in this list. You also need to avoid contractions. Use the full form of the verb, not the short form of the verb. The last thing that you have to keep in mind is to avoid generic use of language. Sometimes when we talk about student, teacher, or friend, for example, we tend to refer to them as he. This is a kind of sexist language because this teacher or student or friend can also be a female, can also be a girl or a woman. Then, instead of referring to them as he, we can use he, she, or we can use she or they in plural. Also, when we talk about mankind and policemen and firemen, these are instances of sexist language. So now we use police officer and firefighter instead. Look for other instances of generic use of language and try to avoid it in your essay. If you have any questions, please include them in the comment section of this video. Thank you for your attention.